Do you know this feeling? The moment someone misunderstands you. Not completely wrong, just distorted enough to make you hesitate. It might happen in a meeting when your boss asks why the task is late. His voice is controlled, but controlled enough that the entire room turns to look at you. Or it happens at a social gathering when someone makes a half-joking remark and says you always think about yourself. Or worse, it comes from the person you care about most. They replay your words, twist their meaning, and place them in front of you like proof. And before logic has time to respond, your body moves first. Your chest warms, your heart accelerates, your jaw tightens. Your mind starts assembling a case, pulling memories, context, timelines. You hear yourself speaking. No, that's not what I meant. Let me explain. You talk more than necessary. You talk faster than usual. You talk as if your sense of safety depends on being understood. In that moment, you are not communicating. You are surviving. But then something strange happens. The more you explain, the smaller you feel. The more detail you add, the less solid you sound. Each sentence meant to clarify somehow weakens your position. You notice their posture change. Their attention sharpens, not with curiosity, but with leverage. You begin to feel like you are behind glass, watched, evaluated, measured. And a quiet thought appears beneath the noise. Why do I always have to justify myself? This is not because you are wrong. It is because you are stepping into a frame where justification is expected. A frame where clarity is mistaken for weakness. A frame designed so that the one who explains is always one step behind. This video is for people who are exhausted by that pattern. For people who leave conversations replaying what they said, wondering where they lost ground. For people who feel drained not by conflict, but by the need to manage how they are perceived. If you have ever walked away thinking you said too much, you are not alone. That feeling is a signal. It tells you that something deeper is happening than a simple misunderstanding. The world does not respond to intention. It responds to posture. And every time you rush to explain, you subtly lower yours. This is not about becoming silent all the time. It is about noticing the cost of over-explaining. The cost is not just social. It is internal. Each time you justify yourself, you teach your nervous system that your position is negotiable. Over time, that belief settles in. You begin conversations already leaning forward, already preparing to defend. That is the real trap. And until you see it clearly, it keeps repeating. This opening is not meant to accuse you. It is meant to name what you have been feeling, so you finally know where it comes from. More than 500 years ago, one man understood this game with unsettling precision: Machiavelli. He was not interested in morality, fairness, or how people should behave in a perfect world. He studied power when people feel threatened, emotional, and willing to bend rules to protect themselves. Machiavelli saw an uncomfortable truth that still governs social life today. The world does not operate on right and wrong. It operates on who controls the frame of reality in the moment. In every social conflict, there is a silent hierarchy forming beneath the words. The person who explains steps downward. The person who questions, judges, or waits holds the higher ground. This video is not here to teach you how to argue harder or sound smarter. It is not about manipulation, intimidation, or emotional coldness. The aim is more precise than that. This video is designed to help you stop losing power the instant you open your mouth to defend yourself. You will see why your biology pushes you to explain before you think. You will understand why silence creates instability in the attacker, even when no insult is returned. You will learn when silence protects your position and when speaking is necessary. More importantly, you will learn how to speak without shrinking, apologizing, or handing control away. This is not about becoming feared. It is about becoming solid. When you stop needing to be understood, conversations change. People listen differently. Pressure weakens. Respect forms quietly, without demand. Machiavelli never taught people how to win debates. He showed them how power is preserved when emotions rise. This video follows that logic. Not to make you ruthless, but to make you grounded. Go back to when you were a child. You are 6 years old, standing in front of an adult who believes you did something wrong. They are taller, louder, and certain. They decide what happens next. Your first instinct appears instantly. You explain. You say you did not mean to do it. You say the other kid started it. You say it fell on its own, that you did not break it. In that moment, your nervous system absorbs a quiet rule. The person who judges controls safety, and safety depends on convincing them. This lesson does not live in language. It lives in the body. The problem is not that you learned it. The problem is that it never updated. You grew older, but your nervous system stayed the same. Today, when someone questions you, your body reacts before your mind does. The faces are different, but the pattern is identical. Teachers become bosses. Parents become partners. Authority figures expand into the entire social world. Each time you explain yourself, there is an unspoken message underneath the words. You are the judge. I am the defendant. Please decide if I am acceptable. Human beings do not respect defendants, not because they are cruel, but because hierarchy is wired into perception. A person who needs to prove innocence never looks grounded. Power does not rush to be cleared. You may believe you are clarifying facts, but what others feel is urgency. They hear the speed, they sense the tension. They notice how invested you are in being approved, and that investment quietly lowers your position. Here is the uncomfortable part most people miss. Many accusations are not designed to uncover truth. They are designed to test boundaries. The real question underneath is simple. Will this person react? Will they lose composure? Will they enter an emotional exchange where leverage can be gained? When you rush to explain, you answer yes. You signal that your inner stability depends on their verdict. That signal invites repetition. People keep pulling the same lever because it works. Over time, this becomes exhausting. You start anticipating judgment before it happens. You rehearse explanations in your head. You manage tone, timing, and optics. You feel like you are constantly on stage, even in casual moments. The cost is subtle but cumulative. You stop standing where you are. You lean forward psychologically. You give ground before anyone asks for it. That is the real damage, not the accusation, but the habit of self-justification. It teaches your system that your presence requires permission. The irony is that this pattern once protected you. As a child, explanation meant relief. It reduced punishment. It restored safety. But what once kept you safe now keeps you small. Seeing this clearly is not an indictment. It is a release. When you recognize the pattern, it loses its automatic grip. You realize you are not weak for explaining. You are conditioned, and conditioning can be interrupted. The moment you stop reacting like a child on trial, something shifts. Your body slows, your voice settles, your presence expands. You no longer ask to be allowed in the room. You realize you already belong there. There is one truth that changes everything the moment it clicks. The courtroom only exists if you step into it. There is no judge standing above you. There is no jury waiting to decide who you are. There is only you and the opinions other people carry with them. The moment you stop treating those opinions as verdicts, accusations lose their weight. When someone says you are selfish, careless, or wrong, it is no longer a sentence being passed. It becomes a sound, a signal, a piece of noise moving through the air. An opinion that you do not recognize has no authority over you. Most people never realize this because they unconsciously grant others the right to evaluate them. They enter the courtroom automatically, without noticing that the door was never locked. Power does not come from proving innocence. It comes from refusing the role of defendant entirely. The strength you are looking for is not in sharper logic or better explanations. It is in your willingness to remain still when someone tries to put you on trial. The moment you defend yourself, you accept their frame. You agree that they get to measure you. When you do not defend, you quietly reject that authority. This is where many people misunderstand power. They think power must be demonstrated. They think it requires evidence, persuasion, and justification. In reality, power is assumed. It exists before words are spoken. This is what Machiavellian thinking exposes so clearly. Proof is demanded only from those whose position is uncertain. A person who knows who they are does not rush to clear confusion. They do not scramble to correct every misunderstanding. They understand that clarity is optional, but self-respect is not. When you stop stepping into imaginary courtrooms, something shifts inside you. Your body relaxes, your breathing slows, your responses become shorter and heavier. People feel the change, even if they cannot articulate it. Accusations start to fall flat, because there is nothing for them to land on. Without resistance, there is no friction. Without friction, conflict starves. This does not make you cold or detached. It makes you grounded. It does not make you arrogant. It makes you sovereign. You stop asking to be evaluated. You stop volunteering explanations as currency. You simply occupy your position. The most powerful move in any confrontation is not to win the argument. It is to deny the argument the right to define you. When you do that, the courtroom dissolves. And with it disappears the exhausting need to prove that you deserve to be where you already stand. Picture this situation clearly. Someone looks at you and says you are behaving badly. Not shouting, not dramatic, just sharp enough to pull you into defense. The old version of you reacts immediately. You explain what happened. You analyze context. You justify intention. You try to restore balance by words. Now imagine a different response. You look at them. You hold eye contact. You say nothing. 3 seconds pass, 4 seconds, 5. Your face stays neutral, your jaw relaxed, your posture open. No frown, no nervous smile, no apology, just silence. That silence feels heavy at first, especially inside your body. Your instincts want relief. Your system wants to fix the tension. But something very specific is happening in the other person's mind. Humans are deeply uncomfortable with silence during conflict. Silence signals that the usual script has failed. It says, "I am not participating in this exchange." The person who accused you expected resistance. They expected explanation or emotion. When none appears, uncertainty creeps in. Their confidence weakens. They begin filling the space you refuse to occupy. They keep talking. They soften their tone. They qualify their statement. They step backward without realizing it. You did nothing, yet the power shifted. Silence is not passive. It is pressure without force. It makes the other person sit alone with their own words. Most people cannot tolerate that. They want reaction. They want engagement. Silence denies them both. This is why it works so reliably. You are not attacking. You are not submitting. You are refusing to enter a frame designed to drain you. That refusal changes the dynamic instantly. Silence becomes a mirror. Whatever energy they bring gets reflected back at them. Aggression sounds louder. Accusation feels thinner. Emotion becomes exposed. And you remain untouched. This does not mean freezing or dissociating. It means staying present without leaking power. Your breathing stays slow. Your body stays grounded. You communicate stability without explanation. There is a subtle addition here that most people miss. Silence also buys you time. Time allows your nervous system to settle. Time prevents impulsive words you later regret. Time keeps you from saying something that cannot be taken back. Over repeated use, silence becomes familiar. It stops feeling risky. It starts feeling deliberate. People begin to sense that you cannot be rushed. They feel that you are not easily pulled into emotional exchanges. And humans instinctively respect what they cannot move. The key is intention. This silence is not avoidance. It is a conscious choice to remain unhooked. You are not trying to win the moment. You are refusing to lose position. Over time, insults lose traction. Accusations collapse faster. Conversations slow down around you. You realize something important. Power does not always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in the absence of response. Silence is not emptiness. It is structure. It holds the line without pushing back. Once you experience that shift, silence stops feeling like weakness. It becomes one of the most reliable tools you have. When someone attacks you, they expect resistance. They expect denial, explanation, or emotional pushback so the exchange can continue. Do not give them that. Instead, do something that breaks the rhythm completely. Agree. But agree in a way that makes the attack lose its direction. This is the logic behind agree and amplify. An insult is designed to hook insecurity. It needs tension to survive. The moment you defend yourself, you confirm that the hook landed. When you agree calmly, you remove the hook and leave the line hanging in the air. Imagine someone says you are obsessed with money. The predictable response is correction. You explain priorities. You talk about responsibility. You try to sound reasonable. That response sounds mature, but it gives the accusation weight. A different response changes everything. You smile slightly and say, yes, absolutely. I sleep on piles of cash every night. Terrible for my back. The room shifts. The tone changes. You did 3 things at once. You refused to be offended. You refused to feel shame, and you took control of the frame. Confident people are not insulted easily because they are not protecting a fragile image. They treat attacks like toys, not threats. Humor works here because humor signals surplus. It says, I am not under pressure. I have room to play. When you amplify an accusation until it becomes absurd, you expose its weakness. The attacker wanted seriousness. You gave exaggeration. They wanted tension. You gave ease. That mismatch creates discomfort on their side. Their mind expected a fight and received amusement. They don't know where to go next. If they push harder, they look petty. If they retreat, they lose momentum. Either way, you remain untouched. This is not sarcasm. Sarcasm hides anger and invites escalation. Agree and amplify hides nothing. It shows comfort. It communicates that you are at home with yourself. There is an important addition here. This method only works when your tone is clean. No edge, no bitterness, just lightness. The goal is not to mock them. The goal is to demonstrate that their words cannot control your state. Over time, this sends a powerful signal. Your identity is not negotiable. You are not asking to be perceived correctly. You are showing that perception does not govern you. That is why this approach feels threatening to insecure people. They rely on emotional leverage. You remove it. They rely on seriousness. You dissolve it. Agree and amplify also protects your energy. There is no back and forth, no debate, no internal spike. You respond once and the exchange collapses. This is especially effective in public or social settings where open confrontation would cost status. You stay relaxed. You stay composed. You let the moment pass without damage. The paradox is simple. The more seriously you take insults, the more power they gain. The less seriously you take them, the less real they become. Confidence does not shout. It smirks quietly. When you reach that state, attacks turn into entertainment, and the person who tried to diminish you ends up revealing themselves, while you remain steady, amused, and firmly in control. In any interaction, the person asking the questions is quietly holding the power. Questions decide the direction. They determine what is being examined and who is standing under pressure. That is why answering like a defendant weakens you immediately. The moment you rush to respond, you accept the position they assigned. Instead, you reverse the flow. You ask a question back, not sharply, not defensively, calmly and precisely. Imagine someone asks, "Why are you always late?" The usual response is predictable. You explain traffic, scheduling, circumstances, intentions. You try to sound reasonable. In doing so, you shrink. Now imagine a different move. You pause for a second. You look at them. You ask, "Why does my arrival time affect you so strongly?" In that instant, the frame flips. We are no longer discussing your behavior. We are examining their reaction. The attention moves off you and onto them. This is not wordplay. This is structure. Questions slow momentum. They interrupt emotional acceleration. They force reflection where accusation expected submission. When you ask instead of answer, you step out of the role of accused and into the role of observer. Most people are unprepared for that shift. They expect resistance or compliance, not analysis. A clean question exposes motivation. It reveals emotional investment. It turns a vague attack into something specific and uncomfortable. Suddenly, they are the one explaining. Suddenly, they feel seen. This is especially effective with people who rely on pressure. They want quick reactions. They want you off balance. Questions deny speed. They create pause, and pause weakens manipulation. Consider another example. Someone says you are being ridiculous. The instinct is to defend your point. Instead, you ask, "What about this feels ridiculous to you?" Again, the frame changes. We are no longer debating content. We are examining perception. That distinction matters. Emotional people prefer chaos. They thrive in noise. Questions introduce structure. Structure exposes gaps, and gaps are dangerous to emotional leverage. Tone is critical here. Your voice must be steady. Your posture relaxed. You are not interrogating. You are observing. Think of it as stepping half a pace back and looking at the situation instead of standing inside it. That position feels elevated because it is. You signal that you are not reactive. You are not easily pulled. Over time, people learn something about you. Attacking you leads to self-exposure. Pressure comes back to the sender. This subtly changes how they approach you. Respect forms, not through dominance, but through composure. The most effective questions are simple. They do not accuse. They do not explain. They reflect. They invite the other person to sit with their own energy. When you master this, conversations slow down around you. Accusations lose urgency. You realize something essential. You do not need to win arguments to hold power. You only need to control where attention goes. And attention always follows the question. Imagine someone looks at your work and says, "This report is terrible. You are incompetent." Most people react to the label, not the reality. Their body tightens. Their ego flares. They rush to protect their identity. They argue that they are not incompetent. They list past successes. They explain context and pressure. Without realizing it, they accept the frame that their value as a person is on trial. Fogging works because it refuses that frame entirely. Instead of reacting to the label, you respond only to what is objectively true. A grounded response sounds simple. You say, "You're right, the report has errors. I'll fix it." And then you stop. No extra tone, no justification, no emotional charge. You accepted responsibility, but you did not absorb humiliation. That distinction is everything. A mistake is an action. A label is an attempt to define who you are. Strong people separate the two instinctively. Insecure people merge them and suffer for it. Fogging removes the struggle by refusing to argue identity at all. When you acknowledge the factual part, the attack loses momentum. There is nothing left to push against. The person expected resistance or denial. What they meet instead is calm ownership. That creates imbalance. They may escalate to provoke emotion. They may soften to regain footing. Either way, you remain steady. This method is especially powerful in professional environments. You demonstrate accountability without self-betrayal. You show competence by not defending it. Only someone secure in their ability can admit error without panic. Someone fragile must protect image at all costs. Fogging also applies outside of work. When someone says you are selfish, you do not argue the label. You respond to the behavior. You say, "You're right, I didn't consider that situation carefully enough." Then you stop talking. You address the truth and leave the insult behind. This signals emotional maturity. It shows that you are open to feedback, but closed to degradation. Over time, people learn a clear lesson. Attacking your identity does not work. If they want change, they must speak clearly. Conversations become cleaner. Drama loses fuel. This is not weakness. It is precision. You decide what enters your system and what gets filtered out. Fogging is not submission. It is selectivity. Facts are allowed in. Shame is not. That selectivity communicates deep self-trust. Only someone who knows who they are can admit where they fell short without collapsing. Paradoxically, this increases respect. When you stop protecting a fragile image, others stop trying to break it. You remain intact, because nothing false ever attached itself to you in the first place. If an attack still hurts, it is not because the words were sharp. It is because they landed on a wound that already existed. Insults do not create pain from nothing. They activate something unfinished inside you. When someone calls you selfish, careless, or inadequate, the sting does not come from their judgment. It comes from the part of you that has quietly wondered the same thing. That is the layer most people never look at. They focus on the attacker and miss the echo. A person who has accepted their own shadow cannot be threatened with it. When you know you are capable of selfishness, being called selfish loses its power. When you know you can be wrong, being Being exposed stops feeling dangerous. The attack collapses because there is nothing hidden left to reveal. Most people are not reacting to insults. They are reacting to fear. Fear of being seen clearly. Fear that someone might confirm their worst private doubt. That is why the urge to defend feels so urgent. Defense is an attempt to erase uncertainty. But uncertainty cannot be erased by explanation. It can only be integrated. The more you deny parts of yourself, the more sensitive you become to anyone who points at them. Shame feeds on avoidance. When you refuse to look at something, it grows louder. When you look directly, it shrinks. This is why people who have done deep inner work appear calm under attack. They are not detached. They are complete. They have already faced the parts others try to weaponize. Nothing is left to expose. When someone accuses them, they do not panic because they are not protecting a fragile image. They are standing on solid ground. This does not mean you accept every accusation as truth. It means you are no longer terrified of the possibility that some part of it might be. That shift is subtle but decisive. You stop fighting to appear clean. You start standing as you are. The pain you feel now is not a flaw. It is a signal. It points to something inside you that wants acknowledgement, not defense. When you stop running from it, the pain changes. It becomes steadiness. You realize that no one can shame you for what you have already owned. No one can control you with a truth you have already faced. That is where real freedom begins. Not in perfection, but in integration. When your shadow is no longer hidden, it stops being a weapon. And when that happens, attacks lose their emotional charge. They become information at most, noise at worst. You are no longer reactive because there is nothing left to protect. That is why the deepest form of power is not dominance over others. It is honesty with yourself. The most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest, the most aggressive, or the most opinionated. It is the person who does not need to be understood, not because they are cruel, but because they are free. When you stop needing approval, explanations lose urgency. When you stop chasing agreement, silence stops feeling risky. You begin to move through conversations differently. Your words become fewer, but heavier. Your reactions slow down, but carry more weight. People notice the shift immediately, even if they cannot explain it. This is what inner sovereignty looks like. It is not about controlling others. It is about no longer being controlled by their perceptions. You stop negotiating your worth in every interaction. You stop leaking energy trying to correct misunderstandings. You stand where you are, steady and intact. Silence becomes a choice, not a shield. Speech becomes intentional, not defensive. You are no longer trying to be liked. And paradoxically, that is when respect begins to form. This is the quiet law most people never see. The moment you stop performing for acceptance, you gain gravity. You are no longer pulled by accusations, misunderstandings, or emotional hooks. You let people think what they want. You let them project. You let them misunderstand. And you remain unmoved. That does not make you distant. It makes you solid. When you keep your silence, you keep your power. When you keep your power, you keep yourself. This is not about winning conversations. It is about leaving a game that was draining you slowly. If something in this philosophy resonates with the part of you that is tired of explaining, tired of defending, tired of shrinking to keep others comfortable, then you already understand. You do not need persuasion. You are ready. Carry this posture with you. Protect your stillness. Guard your energy. And if you choose to go deeper, do it not because someone told you to, but because you recognized yourself in these words. That recognition is the real beginning of power.